Renee Carter was 32, a single mom in Mesa, Arizona, raising two kids while also caring for her aging father, Frank, who watched them after school when his back allowed it. Renee made her money babysitting other people's children, usually in clean, calm houses where snacks were always stocked and nobody argued over utility bills. The work paid, but it cut in a way she didn't talk about. She spent her best hours building someone else's routine while her own kids waited for her at home, and every week felt like the same trade: time for cash, presence for survival. Gas kept climbing, rent stayed brutal, and every unexpected expense landed on her like a warning shot. She'd heard the curbside stories in the background of her life the way everyone had: YouTube clips about people finding trash that flipped into rent money. Renee didn't have time for thrift stores, didn't have a truck for furniture, and didn't have patience for fantasy, but she did have eyes. Driving to jobs, she saw the signs: piles set out on pickup day, boxes stacked too neatly, neighborhoods where people replaced things instead of fixing them. A few times she stopped when the curb looked promising, hoping for something simple: an appliance she could resell, a tablet, a tool set, anything that could make the months feel less tight. Each time the street taught her the same lesson: most treasure was staged by hope, not reality. One afternoon, she pulled over for a stack of big electronics boxes: TV branding, speaker labels, gaming logos, enough to make her pulse jump for a second. Inside was nothing but empty packaging, a cracked, outdated screen, dead keyboards, random cords, and junk so tired it felt like someone had sold it out to trick desperate people. She tried again in another area and found a moving pile that was mostly broken lamps and cheap plastic drawers. A third stop looked even better from the road, but every case was empty, like the whole thing had been stripped and dumped just to get rid of trash fast. By the end of the week, Renee felt embarrassed for believing the internet and angry because she hadn't been chasing a thrill, she'd been chasing breathing room. On her way home from a babysitting shift, Renee cut through a richer pocket near Los Andes, the kind of neighborhood where streets stayed quiet and the houses looked like they ran on different rules. Near a cul-de-sac, she saw a cluster of black trash bags stacked beside a low stone wall, too many, tied too tight, arranged like someone wanted them to disappear without being noticed. A woman was nearby, digging through one bag like she was hunting for cans. Renee almost kept driving because she didn't want trouble and she didn't want to look like she was competing with someone who clearly needed anything she could find. But something about those bags felt off. Not kitchen trash, not yard waste, not sloppy weight of normal life, more like somebody had wrapped valuables to look like garbage. Renee parked and walked over, keeping her voice polite and calm, asking the woman if she was okay and if she knew where the bags came from. The woman shrugged and said people dump stuff here sometimes, like it was normal. Renee crouched near a torn seam and saw clean packaging inside, flat, stiff, the edge of the portfolio folder that didn't belong in trash. She loosened the knot on the bag and opened it carefully, bracing for smell, bracing for disappointment, and instead found the opposite: an old-style document folder like something from an archive, boxed wine bottles in protective sleeves like gifts, and brand new designer packaging still sealed, the kind Renee only recognized when store windows she never entered. She opened a second bag and found more: sealed clothing boxes, a leather item wrapped carefully, expensive tools still in cases, and velvet pouches that clinked when she lifted them. Renee's mind went cold and fast at the same time, because this wasn't a lucky curb find anymore, it looked like a dump meant to be missed. Then she heard a porch door open nearby and voices carried down the street. And Renee realized the real problem wasn't whether she'd found something valuable. The real problem was that she was standing in a millionaire neighborhood over a pile of trash that looked carefully hidden, and if anyone decided it didn't belong to the curb, she'd be easiest person to blame. Renee backed away from the bags and forced her face into normal, but her body didn't buy it. Right beside the pile, she noticed fresh tire marks in the dust where a car had rolled up close, stopped, and pulled away again, too clean, too recent, like it happened minutes ago. Then she caught movement across the street. A man in a hoodie standing near a mailbox, scrolling his phone, but not really scrolling. He kept looking up, watching her hands. Renee's stomach tightened. This wasn't just odd trash, this was a drop, and someone might still be nearby to see who picked it up. She didn't open more bags, she didn't start loading anything. She did what broke people rarely do when they tempt. She slowed down and made herself think. She pulled out her phone and took wide photos of the whole scene, the street sign, the curb line, the tire marks, and the exact way the bags were stacked. Then she recorded a short video showing the knots still tied and the bag sitting in the curb, not inside a yard, not behind a gate. She called her dad and kept him on speaker, not for comfort, but because she needed someone to hear everything in real time. The man across the street turned and walked away the second she started filming, like he'd be waiting to see whether she'd grab and run. Renee walked back to the first bag she'd opened and looked without digging. The wow was already there, clear to turn her mouth dry. A designer box inside a sealed shipping sleeve, a watch case tucked under it, and the corner of an old-style portfolio folder wrapped in plastic like someone didn't want moisture on it. She opened the folder just enough to see thick paper with stamps and signatures. Nothing she understood, but it looked official, expensive, and private. Under the folder was a velvet pouch that clinked once when she touched it, the sound small but heavy. Renee didn't need to see more to know this wasn't meant for a curb. Someone had hidden valuables in trash bags on purpose, hoping the right kind of person would take them and disappear. A dark SUV rolled past the cul-de-sac slow, then looped and rolled by again, even slower. No lights, no siren, just a quiet second pass that made Renee's skin go cold. She stepped away from the bags, put herself where she could see both directions, and did the smartest thing she could do without turning it into a scene. She knocked on the nearest door with the camera above the garage and introduced herself as a local mom who'd found dumped bags that didn't look like trash. The homeowner came out, looked once, and his expressions changed fast. He said the bags weren't his and they hadn't been there earlier. Then he lowered his voice and said, "Our security guy can pull camera timestamps. If you touch this, it can land on you." Within minutes, the neighborhood security supervisor arrived, private, not police, calm but serious. He watched Renee's videos, looked at the tire marks, and nodded like he'd seen this before. He told her straight, "Good thing you didn't take anything. People use drops like this to catch someone desperate. If you grab it, you become the story." He called his dispatcher to flag the cameras and log the bags as abandoned property pending retrieval by the proper claims channel. Renee stayed until everything was documented and removed, because walking away first would make her look like the only person with a reason to run. A week later, Renee got a call that made her sit down at her kitchen table. The valuables had been tied to a fraud and theft cleanup, property dumped after a hit to avoid being caught with it, and her photos gave the exact timeline they needed. Because she didn't pocket anything, her name stayed clean, and the recovery went through insurance and security the way it was supposed to. The reward wasn't a jackpot, but it hit like oxygen, enough to pay down the worst bills, fix her car, and cover school costs so her kids stopped hearing, "Not this month." She cut back on babysitting shifts, got home for dinner again, and her dad didn't have to stretch his body past its limit just to keep the weak from falling apart. Irenie didn't walk away thinking life was fair. She walked away knowing something better. When you're struggling, the world will offer easy money that can wreck you, and the real win is keeping your hands clean while still grabbing a chance the smart way. She never forgot the tire marks, the second pass of the SUV, and the man pretending to scroll his phone, and she never forgot the simple truth that changed her life harder than any curbside flip ever could. Sometimes the best treasure isn't that you take, it's what you refuse to take when someone is hoping you'll make the wrong choice. That's the story, and share in the comments if you like it, if you have your own story to share. We'll be glad to hear it out. And if you like the video, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and see you next time.